Hi everyone, welcome to week 4 of English 97. We're going to be drafting essay 1 this week. So we already started with some invention ideas last week, some sort of pre-writing that we've done, and then this week is going to be taking those ideas and getting them on paper. I know that this part kind of might feel a little messy, but trust me, trust the process, and we'll get through it together. So the assignments for this week should be pretty straightforward by now, hopefully. There are readings and a quiz for week 4. We're going to read chapter 5 of Use What Works and then also a sample draft called An Unexpected Lesson. Then there is a discussion board due Thursday. Don't forget to respond to classmates by Sunday. You guys have been doing really great with our discussion board. I'm super excited about how that's going, and I hope that you guys are also finding it useful, especially when we start working on revising our essays next week. I think it'll be really important to use that discussion board and use each other and our feedback. And then on Monday, you're going to need to turn in a draft of essay 1. So if 2 to 3 pages on the topic for essay 1 sounds a little daunting, don't worry, take a deep breath, and I'm going to go over just some tips to keep in mind. It doesn't need to be perfect, okay? So a draft is just that. It's just a draft. It is not what you're going to eventually turn in for your portfolio. It's really just your ideas on paper. So let's talk about drafting first. This is the first part of Use What Works chapter 5, and it has some really good tips I want you to keep in mind. So first of all, what is a first draft? And essentially a first draft is your first time trying to write the paper the way that you want it to look. Keep in mind, this is the first time you're doing it, so it's not going to be perfect. And here they say it's just the first draft, meaning it's just the first time. We're going to do a second draft next week. The most important thing to do is just to get yourself writing, okay? Use the invention stuff that we worked in week 3 to help you, and just remember that you can do this, all right? Try not to judge yourself too quickly. There's always this little voice in our heads that's like, no, I'm not good enough, that doesn't sound right, or I should do this later, but just try and quiet that voice down and focus on just getting your thoughts on paper, all right? And then the one tip that I really want you guys to think about this week is focus on your main idea and give yourself permission to use various strategies to develop that main idea. So if you remember in week 3, we read chapter 4 of Use What Works, and the week before that we read chapter 3. Yeah, chapter 3. So chapter 3 talks about sort of the basic outline of an essay, and it also introduced us to the idea of a thesis. So remember that your thesis is your main idea about your topic. What do you want your reader to understand from your writing? Okay, and that main idea is what you're going to use to structure the rest of your draft. All right, as long as that main idea is clear to me from your thesis and that you support it in the rest of your essay, you're going to be on the right track. So what we did last week was start with some invention. Maybe you made a list of ideas in a brainstorm. Maybe you made kind of a map of some concepts for your invention. Maybe you just started free writing. What I want you to do is go from that idea, from those ideas, and then start your draft. Read chapter 5 of Use What Works first. It has some great advice on how to develop your ideas and how to kind of get started. And then remember that thesis that I mentioned. So your main idea is 1 to 2 sentences. It goes at the end of your introduction paragraph. So first paragraph, end of that. And then that's what you're going to keep coming back to. All right. Each body paragraph needs to say, okay, this is how I support my thesis. And then the end, your conclusion, is going to say, overall, here's what I want my reader to learn. All right. So if you're not sure what the best way to start your introduction or the best way to end your conclusion is, that's all stuff that we're going to go over next week when we work on revising. This week, I just want you to get your ideas on paper. All right. So a couple of common writing traps that I wanted to focus on, also mentioned in Use What Works, are these ideas that really can get in the way of getting started. For example, I need the perfect schedule, or the perfect room, or the perfect computer, or the perfect weather in order to get started. This is so not true. If you wait for our Midwestern weather to clear up, and that's, the sunny day outside the cafe patio is when you're going to really write the best you've ever written, chances are you're never going to write. Similarly, I'll just, wait a little bit longer before I get started. This won't hurt. Or I do my best work under pressure. That's why I wait till the last minute. Although, like we learned in last week's video, procrastination can be helpful. It isn't always, and waiting until especially the last minute for drafting will really not work well. So try and do it in pieces. Another thing I've heard people say is that they just don't feel confident about their writing, and that they're like, no, I can't draft. It's going to be so bad that I won't want to show it to anyone. Just remind yourself that that's not true. And your book also has some really great tips for how to kind of get out of these mindsets if you find yourself falling into them. So another thing I wanted to mention, your draft will need to be in MLA format. So similar to how we turned in your paragraphs, you're going to turn in your essay draft in MLA format. So make sure that you have a header in top left, a title, and then your actual draft is going to come beneath that title, double spaced. So I will post a template again for you to use. And if you have questions, I'll also post a website that can help you. This is really just, the actual on paper look of the essay, and we can always fix it in revision. But when I talk about MLA format, this is what I mean. All right, so, there's my doggo. As you're drafting, I wanted to sort of bring our attention to the idea of paragraphs. So our first major assignment was one paragraph, right? It was a collection of sentences, a topic sentence, a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? An essay works similarly, except for it's a collection of paragraphs. So whenever you have a new idea, you want to make a new paragraph in your document. To do that, you're going to hit the Enter button and then Tab. So anytime you change to a new idea or a new point, create a new paragraph. And remember that your topic sentence, that first sentence in each paragraph, is what's going to give the main idea coming next, okay? So if you, in your pre-writing, if you made a list of ideas, you could even use that list to start each of your paragraphs. But this is also something that we're going to keep focusing on, but you want to make sure that you don't have just one big block of text, because it makes it difficult to read and difficult to kind of understand the flow of your ideas. Last but not least, I wanted to mention just a couple tips I have for sending emails. So I know a lot of us maybe send emails from our phone, or maybe you're just not, used to kind of emailing in a professional setting. And I wanted to just point out maybe some things to think about. I'm not too picky about the emails I get. I probably know who you are because I try and know my students' names really well, but maybe you're interacting with a professor who doesn't. So I wanted to point out that whenever you're emailing someone, you want to make sure that you include a greeting like, hi, so-and-so, and then give specifics about what you need help with or what you're asking about. So for me, it's really helpful if you say your name and your class, what assignment you're asking about, and then how I can help you. So for example, I have this email here. It says, hi, Professor Beauville. I'm unable to locate where chapters 1 and 2 are on Blackboard. Can you please assist me with this? Thank you. I gave their name. So ideally, this person would say, I can't locate chapters 1 and 2 on Blackboard in English 97. But for the most part, I can kind of quickly see, oh, okay, this person needs help with Blackboard, and maybe I can figure out who that is. But the more information you give me, the better. If you're emailing an instructor who's super busy, like I teach 7 classes a semester with 20 students per class, so that's a lot of people. The more information you can give me, the better I am to help you, and also just the better impression you're going to give. So I know that often we're emailing on our phones, and it's just like real quick, like texting, but get in the habit of just like a paragraph, beginning, middle, end. Hi, so-and-so, here's what I need and all my details. Thanks so much. And if you, keep that format, you'd be surprised how much differently people will react to your emails. So that's just my bonus writing tip for today. Good luck drafting Essay 1, and I'm looking forward to reading your ideas.